Imagine stepping onto a crowded subway train in Seoul during the middle of summer. Hundreds of people are packed together. There is barely enough room to move. The air is warm, everyone has been outside, and yet something feels strangely different. For many foreigners visiting Korea, it takes a while to notice, but once they do, they often ask the same question: where is the body odor? This might sound like a strange thing to wonder about, but it is actually one of the most common observations made by visitors to Korea. In many parts of the world, deodorant is considered a daily necessity. Entire supermarket aisles are dedicated to sprays, sticks, roll-ons, and antiperspirants. People carry them in backpacks, keep them in cars, and apply them before work, after exercise, and sometimes even throughout the day. But in Korea, the situation is very different. Deodorant exists, but it is nowhere near as common. Some stores carry only a few products, and many Koreans go through life without using it regularly. For someone coming from North America or Europe, that can seem almost impossible. So why does this happen? The answer begins with a tiny genetic difference that most people have never heard of. Scientists have identified a gene called ABCC11. It might not sound important, but this gene affects something surprisingly noticeable. It influences the type of sweat produced by certain glands in the body, particularly the glands found in the armpits. These glands release substances that bacteria break down, creating what we recognize as body odor. People with one version of the gene tend to produce more of these substances. People with another version produce much less. And here is where things become interesting. The version associated with reduced body odor is relatively rare in many parts of the world, but in Korea, it is extremely common. In fact, the vast majority of Koreans carry this version of the gene. As a result, many Koreans naturally produce far less of the compounds that cause strong underarm odor. This doesn't mean Koreans don't sweat. Everyone sweats. Sweat itself is mostly odorless. The smell usually appears when bacteria interact with specific substances released from the body. If those substances are reduced, the smell is reduced as well. But the story gets even stranger. The same gene that influences body odor also affects earwax. People who carry the low odor version of the gene are much more likely to have dry earwax. People who carry the other version are more likely to have wet, sticky earwax. This means that a person's earwax can sometimes reveal clues about a completely different part of their biology. Most people never think about the connection, yet scientists have known about it for years. What's fascinating is that many Koreans are completely unaware of this genetic difference, and that makes sense. People rarely notice things that are normal within their own society. Imagine growing up in a place where most people around you share the same characteristic. There would be no reason to think about it. No reason to compare. Then one day you travel abroad and discover entire sections of stores dedicated to controlling body odor. Suddenly, something you never considered becomes visible. For many Koreans, this realization happens only after living overseas, studying abroad, or working with people from different countries. At the same time, many foreigners arriving in Korea experience the opposite surprise. They enter crowded trains, packed elevators, busy offices, and full restaurants expecting one thing, only to discover something entirely different. Of course, genetics is only part of the explanation. Daily habits also matter. Korea places a strong cultural emphasis on cleanliness and personal appearance. People generally shower frequently, wash clothes regularly, and pay close attention to grooming. Public transportation is heavily used, workplaces are often crowded, and cities are densely populated. When millions of people share public spaces every day, being considerate of others becomes important. Good hygiene is not simply about personal comfort. It is also seen as basic social courtesy. This combination of genetics and lifestyle creates an effect that many visitors immediately notice, even if they cannot explain it. Interestingly, Korea is not the only country where this genetic trait is common. Similar patterns can be found in other parts of East Asia. However, Korea's dense urban environment makes the difference especially noticeable. Think about a city like Seoul. More than 10 million people live in the city itself, and millions more move through the surrounding metropolitan area every day. Subways are packed, buses are crowded, office buildings are full. If strong body odor were common, people would encounter it constantly. Instead, many visitors remember the opposite experience. They remember noticing the absence. And sometimes the absence of something can be more surprising than its presence. This small genetic variation may seem insignificant, but it serves as a reminder of how human populations can develop different traits over thousands of years. Many things people assume are universal are actually shaped by history, geography, and biology. The foods people enjoy, the languages they speak, the way they sleep, and even the way they smell can vary in unexpected ways. So why don't most Koreans have body odor? The answer is not a secret skincare routine, a special diet, or some hidden cultural practice. It is largely the result of a genetic trait carried by most Koreans, combined with everyday habits that emphasize cleanliness and personal care. It is one of those rare cases where a tiny difference in DNA quietly changes an everyday experience for millions of people. And chances are, many of the people benefiting from it have never even thought about it.